gentlemen. Good morning to you all. My name is David Hutchinson. I'm moderating this panel. Just want to point out to those that maybe didn't catch it, because people are coming into the room all the time. The young lady on the end is Hayley Rose with her mother Cheryl. Hayley has severe seizure disorder and actually has a strain of cannabis named after her called Hayley's Comet. And she is where she is today in her good health down to this plant. So I'll give you Hayley Rose. Okay, I'd like to do a quick introduction to the three wonderful guest speakers we have here, our panel. But I'm going to just give a very short summary of their achievements and their involvement, simply because we only have 30 minutes and the clock is running now, so we will have a short chance for some questions at the end as well, if any of you have them. The far end, Martin Hayley. Martin is author of numerous books and the co-founder and director of Project CBD. Next on is Dr. Paul Hornby. Paul is a scientist, researcher, and well-known advocate and patient supporter here in BC. He's a self-professed hippie and lab rat. And then immediately on my left here, Dr. Charles Whitfield. He's a best-selling author of Healing the Child Within. He's written 14 books on healing, and his intent is to demystify illness, cannabis, and the healing process. So I'd like to start off, I have a number of questions I'd like to pose to the panel. I'd like to start off with a question about CBD. Does it matter if CBD is extracted from industrial hemp or marijuana? And I'd like to start with Martin on that, please.
Oh boy, that's gotten me into trouble. Yes and no. Yes, in the real world, in that when you consider the source of CBD available in terms of what's in industrial hemp, there's relatively little in there compared to those unique high-resin marijuana strains that happen to, they're drug strains, drug plants, that happen to be high in CBD and very low in THC. There's not many of those, but there's few of those around. Since you get a lot more from the cannabis plant of the CBD, 20%, something like the AC/DC strain, which is very prevalent in California where I'm from, it's a lot more than the typical maybe 3.5% you get in the actual legitimate industrial hemp strains that you can actually grow from seed. There's a whole illegitimate or extra legitimate industrial hemp industry thriving around CBD, but it's problematic in some ways. It's really a matter of quantity versus quality. You can get a lot from growing a lot of industrial hemp. You can grow tens of thousands of plants, you can extract a lot of CBD, even if there's only a little bit of CBD in the plants. But you're not going to get the quality you're going to get from a 20% plant cannabis. So, and then the proof is in the pudding, though. It's in the products themselves. Vape pens are prevalent now. Vape cartridges filled with cannabis oil, both THC dominant and sometimes CBD dominant. Those hemp oil extracts and CBD, I've never found one that I think would be even safe to inhale, because they all require a thinning agent. Propylene glycol, when overheated, is a carcinogen. And you can't make a really good product, a good quality vape pen oil out of industrial hemp extracts that are the paste that we get, at least that we've seen. We have just never found one. You have the same problem sometime with cannabis in terms of how vape cartridges are made, the oil for the vape cartridges. So that's an example. In the real world, in terms of the choices you have, if you can opt for something within a medical marijuana context, CBD from a high resin plant, you're better off, I think, from industrial hemp, although you can get some decent quality products there too if you're careful.
Thank you. Paul or Charles, do either of you want to make any comment?
Do I need to turn this on?
No, it is on. It's difficult for us to hear on that. From the sound guys at the back, it's actually difficult for us to hear voices. Paul, you should be live now.
It's what I call the three-way split. The genetics that you go to for CBD are different than the genetics that you go to for THC. For example, hemp genetics are high CBD, low THC. Recreational genetics, or BC bud as we call it, is high THC, low CBD. If you cross those two genetics, 1 in 4 will come out what I call a 50-50 strain, which is equal THC and CBD. That's what we used to end Hayley's seizures in the beginning. In the early days, we used a 50-50 strain because it was the only CBD we could find available. Back to the high CBD, low THC strains, like in the hemp genetics, in my data banks there's more than 15,000 cannabinoid profiles run by high-pressure liquid chromatography. If I overlay all of those profiles, which are hemp, recreational, many different strains of cannabis, I only see the 3 different ratios of THC to CBD. In the hemp genetics, the CBD can go to 20%, but the THC will rarely go over 1%. That's why this 0.3, 0.2% THC really bothers me, because no hemp genetics can ever go over 1%, because the genes that code for the CBD and THC are co-dominant. They're either turned on or they're turned off. So you're either getting a lot of CBD production and a little bit of THC, or a lot of THC production and a little bit of CBD, or roughly 50-50. This is argued a lot, but the molecular geneticists have shown this too, that those genes that code for those cannabinoids are co-dominant, so they're either there or they're not. The 50-50 strain that we used with Hayley came from Vancouver Island. When Hayley was first brought to me by her mom almost 10 years ago, she had just vaped Hayley at Mark Emery's Vapor Lounge and noticed an immediate change in her mood and her pre-seizure activity. When she came to me, she knew that I was into standardized oral preps of cannabis. 2 days after meeting Hayley, a young, what I call a hippie kid from the island, comes into the dispensary wanting to sell some of his cannabis. My job was to run it and to see how much CBD and THC were there before the club would buy it. When I ran this sample, the first peak to come out is CBD, and it started going up and up and up, and I started to get really excited because I knew I had something that might help Hayley, and the kids started to cry. So to make a long story short, I asked this guy a while ago why he cried that day, and he said, I was just having a really bad day. But what we had is medicine that eliminated Hayley's seizures for almost a month overnight. She quit seizing. Then at a month, when she had her period, there was a small cluster. This has gone on for roughly 10 years, but we've had a significant reduction in her seizure frequency by giving her what we now call Hayley's Comet, a 50-50 strain. I'm going on way too long. We've got too little time. I'll shut up.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I'd like to ask